2.3 million people in the United States are incarcerated in jails and prisons, according to David Cloud's American Journal of Public Health. Prison treatment is often pushed to the side, but after all, a portion of the taxes that we pay goes towards government prisons. These incarcerated people are also released back into society, so it is important to understand the system that they have been in and how it affects them. Because I grew up in a town that housed a mental health facility and have done community service there, I feel compelled to introduce you to this topic more. This is a picture of the Mental Health Institute in my town. As you can see, this is the main building that they house most of their inmates. Now it's actually, it was originally a self-sufficient community, and now it's simply for sex offenders and adolescent children. And it's actually a very safe place. Although all the sex offenders are caged into wires and fencing, and we've even had cross-country meets there. They have trails around the grounds, and it's a really safe place to be. Although this isn't necessarily a prison, it still relates to mental health in prisons. This persuasive speech will aim to convince you that mental illness in prisons is a big problem, specifically solitary confinement. Throughout this speech, I will tell you the causes for mental illness, the effects from it, and a few ways to help break the cycle of incarceration. First, I will tell you the causes of mental illnesses in prisons. The conditions in prisons have the largest effect on inmates. According to David Cloud's American Journal of Public Health, solitary confinement was instituted by the pioneers who were trying to avoid capital punishment. The pioneers believed that a time of silence and solitude would induce repentance and initiate a reason for prisoners to live a more sociable, responsible life. According to Bill Lueders, the size of a solitary confinement cell is 6 feet by 12 feet, hardly the size of a bathroom. The bed is made out of concrete and the toilet is bolted to the wall. Here's a picture of a typical cell. Well, actually, this is another view of the mental health from up above, and you can see there used to be more buildings around, and we would run around that. And then this is the typical view, and you can also see that the window is very small, and since the width is about 6 feet wide, most people can't spread their arms out for the whole width of this cell. It's a very small room. So if you compare that to your dorm room, we're very lucky. To make matters worse, Lueders also reports that many prisons contain prisoner abuse on top of the already hopeless atmosphere. Guards severely beat prisoners for no reason and are often never disciplined for their behavior. Another source from Cloud states, quote, "Prolonged isolation with a lack of natural light, poor ventilation, and lack of meaningful contact," end quote, all attribute to the symptoms inflicted on the prisoners. Serving foods on plates like this one is another way that guards in prisons can minimize contact with people in solitary confinement. Now that I've told you the causes of mental illnesses in prisons, I will tell you what the effects are to inmates. The factors in the prisons accumulate together to form the outside effects of what solitary confinement can do to prisoners. According to Cloud, most studies have shown that inmates have developed symptoms of prison psychosis. Most officials blame these symptoms on their moral failings, not on their current surroundings and treatment. Inmates are more likely to commit self-harm if they have had a history of mental illness and are 7 times more likely to commit suicide if they are in solitary confinement. Studies also show from Fedos Caba that older people who have already set into life are more likely to commit suicide compared to more juvenile inmates who are more adaptable. The aftermath of mental illness is also a problem to prisons because prisons are not meant to treat mental illness. This is a job for the mental health system, according to Arthur Lorgario. According to Lueders once again, quote, "Inmates in solitary are locked down in tiny cells with nothing to do. They face crushing depression and anxiety. They scream and they cry. If they survive, they are often punished some more," end quote. The cycle repeats itself, and every time they make an infraction, they earn more time. Now that you can see the ill effects of prison life, I will tell you one way a group of people are trying to break the cycle of prison life. The first act of prevention should be to prevent people who are mentally ill from going through the criminal justice system, and instead visiting the mental health system, but also to help children affected by their parents' incarcerations. Lurgario states that being born into poverty also increases the chances of mental illness. Although a person might be born perfectly normal, again, the surroundings in which you live directly affect your health. Growing up poor also increases your risks of joining gangs and selling drugs, which leads to incarcerations as well, as Lurgario said. Betty Adams Wooten runs a program to help aid children whose parents are incarcerated and are absent from parenting, to help prevent children from following the same cycle as their parents. By reaching out, people like Wooten have worked to prevent things like, quote, strong relational and social issues, mental health and physical diseases, including heart disease, depression, diabetes, teen pregnancy, and substance abuse, end quote, are just to name a few. This is just one of the many programs that exist to help people after incarceration. If we can help people before they make poor choices, we can avoid the whole incarceration system together. Incarceration in the broad scope of history is not very old, but the information I just informed you about, we can help prevent future harm to general society. Now that I've told you about the causes and effects and one way to help prevent incarcerations, I challenge you this, to always be kind to other people because you never know what they've been through. You just might be surprised what you find.